The vast emptiness of space stretched before the exploration vessel horizon, its metallic hull gleaming against the darkness. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the observation deck, her fingers tracing the holographic star maps that flickered with soft blue light. Something felt different about this mission, a tension that crawled beneath her skin. Jaewon Park, the ship's medical officer, approached with a data pad clutched tightly in his hand. His dark eyes scanned the readings, a slight furrow forming between his eyebrows. "Commander," he called, his voice cutting through the quiet hum of ship systems. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures." The planet below them looked like a graveyard. Destroyed structures jutted from its surface like broken bones, silent testimony to some forgotten conflict. Satellite scans had initially shown nothing of interest, just another dead world among thousands they had surveyed. But then the first movement appeared. A small figure darted between collapsed buildings. Then another. And another. "Life signs," Jaewon confirmed, his scanner beeping softly. "Multiple biological readings. They're children." Elena leaned closer to the viewport. The planet's surface was a wasteland of destruction, yet something survived. Children, alien children, from the varied heat signatures dancing across the medical scanner. "How many?" she asked quietly. 27 confirmed. Different physiological structures. Definitely not from the same species. The implications were staggering. An entire population of orphaned children, abandoned on a dead world, surviving. Against impossible odds. Sung-Ho Lee, the engineering lead, joined them. "Radiation levels are dropping," he reported. "The environment is stabilizing. We could land safely." Elena made her decision quickly. "Prep the landing shuttle. Medical team ready. We're going down." The descent was smooth, the shuttle cutting through thin atmospheric layers like a knife. As they approached the surface, the devastation became more apparent. Entire city structures lay in ruins, twisted metal and shattered crystal reflecting the pale light. And then they saw them. Children, huddled in groups. Some humanoid, some with additional limbs, some with skin that seemed to shimmer and change color. Their eyes, wide, watchful, filled with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. Hana Kim, the ship's child psychology specialist, was the first to move. She wore her universal translator and moved slowly, deliberately, showing open hands, a universal gesture of peace. "We're here to help," she said softly, her voice translated into multiple alien languages simultaneously. For several long moments, nothing happened. The children remained frozen, watching. Then a small creature, no higher than Elena's knee, stepped forward. Its skin was a mottled green, with large eyes that seemed to take up half its face. It took one hesitant step, then another. "Where are your parents?" Jaewon asked gently. The response was a collective silence that spoke volumes. No parents, no guardians, just survival. Elena realized then that this was more than a rescue mission. This was a turning point. Humanity had always wondered about first contact, about how they might interact with alien civilizations. No one had expected it would be like this, saving orphaned children from a world that had forgotten them. The shuttle's cargo hold would barely contain them. Medical equipment was quickly rearranged, makeshift beds created, emergency nutrition prepared for diverse physiological needs. As the first children were carefully brought aboard, Elena watched. Each child carried trauma beyond human comprehension. Each represented a lost civilization, a broken history. But they were alive. And now, they had hope. The Horizon's engines hummed to life, lifting away from the dead planet. 27 orphans, 27 survivors, 27 souls now under human protection. The medical bay of the Horizon transformed into a complex sanctuary. Machines hummed and blinked, adapting to the unique biological needs of each alien child. Jaewon Park moved between makeshift medical stations, his hands steady, his face a mask of concentration. The first challenge was communication. Some children responded to sound, others to color, and a few seemed to communicate through subtle skin color changes. Hana Kim developed a unique system, part language, part visual interaction, part emotional connection. One child, a small creature with translucent skin that revealed intricate internal structures, refused to be touched. It would curl into a tight ball, trembling whenever anyone approached. Hana discovered that soft humming sounds seemed to calm it, creating a breakthrough in understanding. Sung-Ho Lee worked frantically to modify the ship's environmental systems. Each child required different atmospheric conditions. One needed high humidity, another extreme cold, while a third required a mix of nitrogen and rare mineral gases. The ship's life support became a complex puzzle of survival. Elena Rodriguez watched the transformation. What had started as a rescue mission was becoming something far more complex. These weren't just survivors. They were a new kind of community, forming before her eyes. The kitchen became a challenge of its own. Some children consumed liquid nutrients, others required complex chemical compounds. Some needed food that glowed, while others needed nutrients that changed temperature when touched. The ship's food synthesizers worked overtime, creating meals that defied traditional understanding of nutrition. A particularly interesting child, with 6 limbs and skin that changed texture based on emotional state, showed remarkable intelligence. It began studying the ship's systems, touching control panels and seemingly understanding their function within hours. The crew realized these children were not just survivors, but potentially extraordinary beings. Sleeping arrangements became another intricate puzzle. Some children needed complete darkness, others required constant low-level illumination. Some needed to be suspended, while others needed to be compressed tightly to feel secure. The crew transformed entire sections of the ship into adaptive, living spaces. Communication breakthroughs happened in unexpected moments. A child with crystal-like appendages learned to interface with the ship's computer system, displaying complex mathematical equations that left the scientific team stunned. Another demonstrated an ability to sense electromagnetic fields, helping to detect minor technical issues before they became problems. The psychological healing was slower and more complex. Each child carried memories of loss, of destruction. Group therapy sessions became a delicate dance of understanding and patience. Hana Kim used art, movement, and gentle interaction to help them process their trauma. Elena noticed how the crew was changing too. Hardened space explorers became gentle caregivers. Military protocols gave way to compassion. The mission had transformed from a scientific expedition to a humanitarian rescue. Unexpected bonds formed. A young crew member discovered she could calm a particularly anxious child by braiding its unusual hair-like tendrils. Another found that mathematical puzzles could engage a child who seemed perpetually withdrawn. Challenges emerged constantly. One child's biological processes created unexpected radiation that required immediate medical intervention. Another's emotional state could temporarily disrupt electronic systems. Each problem became a learning experience, a step towards understanding. The ship became more than a vessel. It became a home, a sanctuary, a place of healing and hope. As weeks passed, the children began to show signs of recovery. Smiles emerged. Curiosity replaced fear. They started exploring, learning, connecting with each other and their human guardians. Jae-won discovered that the children's collective trauma had created unexpected psychological links. They could sense each other's emotions, communicate in ways beyond traditional understanding. What had seemed like a random group of orphans was revealing itself as something much more complex. Elena understood then that this was more than a rescue. This was the beginning of something unprecedented. Humanity was no longer just exploring space. They were creating connections that defied traditional understanding of life, communication, and survival. The horizon moved silently through space, carrying its precious cargo. 27 orphans, countless stories, an entire future waiting to be discovered. The horizon's communication systems buzzed with tension. Earth's government wanted explanations. Why were resources being dedicated to alien orphans? What was The potential strategic value of this mission? Elena Rodriguez stood firm. These are children, she told the stern-faced council members during the video conference. Not strategic assets. Yoon Seo Choi monitored the communications, tracking the complex diplomatic dance. The alien children listened nearby, their unique abilities allowing them to understand more than anyone realized. The most remarkable transformation happened gradually. The children began to develop extraordinary capabilities. One child could predict minor system failures before they occurred. Another demonstrated an ability to interface directly with computer systems using nothing more than a touch. A crystal-skinned child named Zara became particularly close to Sung-Ho Lee. The engineering specialist discovered the child could understand complex mechanical systems with an intuition that surpassed human comprehension. Together, they would spend hours solving technical puzzles that would challenge entire research teams. Another child, with skin that changed color based on emotional states, formed a deep bond with Hana Kim. Its ability to communicate emotions through color became a breakthrough in understanding nonverbal communication. The medical team learned to read its shifts: soft blue for calm, vibrant red for excitement, muted green for uncertainty. Jaewon Park made a startling discovery. The children's collective trauma had created a unique psychological network. They could sense each other's emotions, communicate through subtle biological signals that went beyond traditional language. What seemed like random orphans was revealing itself as something far more complex. The ship's daily routine transformed. Morning sessions became learning experiences that defied traditional education. One child taught complex mathematical concepts by creating living geometric patterns with its body. Another shared historical information through intricate skin color sequences that told stories more vivid than any holographic projection. Challenges emerged constantly. Some children's biological processes created unexpected environmental changes. A child's emotional distress could temporarily disrupt electronic systems. Each problem became a learning experience, a step towards mutual understanding. Elena watched as her crew transformed. Hardened space explorers became gentle caregivers. Military precision gave way to compassion. Military protocols dissolved, replaced by something more profound: genuine connection. The most unexpected bond formed between a withdrawn six-limbed child and the ship's security officer. The child had been the most isolated, refusing interaction. But during a routine maintenance check, the officer began solving complex spatial puzzles. The child watched, then slowly began to participate. Diplomatic complications increased. Other alien civilizations heard about the rescue. Some praised the human approach, others viewed it with suspicion. The horizon became more than a ship. It was now a diplomatic phenomenon. Yoon Seo discovered the children were learning faster than any known species. They absorbed language, technical knowledge, and cultural understanding at an unprecedented rate. What would have taken humans years, they learned in weeks. A breakthrough came during a simulated crisis scenario. The children worked together, using their unique abilities to solve a complex problem that would have challenged entire human research teams. They moved as a single unit, their individual strengths combining into a collective intelligence that left the crew speechless. Hana Kim realized they were witnessing the birth of something extraordinary. These weren't just orphans being rescued. They were a new type of community forming, one that transcended traditional understanding of intelligence, communication, and connection. The ship's psychological logs became a treasure trove of discoveries. Each child carried memories of loss but also incredible resilience. They were creating a new family, bridging species, challenging everything humans thought they knew about intelligence and adaptation. As solar cycles passed, the line between rescuers and rescued blurred. The human crew learned as much from the children as the children learned from them. Cultural barriers dissolved, understanding grew. Elena sometimes stood at the observation deck, watching the children interact. Their movements were like a complex dance, part communication, part exploration, part pure joy of existence. The horizon moved silently through space. 27 orphans, countless possibilities. A future none of them could have imagined was just beginning to unfold. The galactic communication channels erupted with debate. Alien civilizations discovered the human rescue mission, and opinions spread like wildfire across interstellar networks. The Quantum Council convened, representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations appearing as holographic projections. Some argued the humans had overstepped boundaries. Others saw potential diplomatic opportunities. Elena Rodriguez stood before the council, her presentation calm and precise. Behind her, the rescued children watched silently, their unique abilities allowing them to understand the complex political discussions happening around them. These children are survivors, she explained. They represent hope, not political leverage. A reptilian representative from the Craxus Confederation challenged her. 27 orphans from multiple destroyed civilizations? This is not a rescue. This is a potential strategic acquisition. Yoon Seo-choi monitored the communication channels, translating subtle diplomatic nuances. The tension was palpable. Humanity's reputation hung in delicate balance. Unexpected allies emerged. The Azure Collective, a highly advanced technological civilization, expressed support for the human approach. They recognized the humanitarian effort as something profound and unique. The children themselves became an unexpected diplomatic tool. Their collective intelligence and adaptability fascinated researchers across multiple star systems. Each demonstration of their capabilities added complexity to the political discussions. Jaewon Park presented medical research showing the children's extraordinary capabilities. They could interface with technology, predict system failures, and communicate in ways that defied traditional understanding. Some civilizations saw potential weapons research. Others saw a breakthrough in interspecies communication. Sung-Ho Lee developed adaptive technologies based on the children's unique biological structures. Each technological advancement created new diplomatic conversations. The children were not just survivors, they were living research opportunities. The most remarkable child, a crystal-skinned being named Zara, demonstrated an ability to interface with complex computer systems using nothing more than subtle biological signals. This single demonstration created weeks of diplomatic discussions. Earth's government wavered. Some politicians saw the children as potential diplomatic resources. Others recognized the humanitarian imperative. Internal debates became as complex as the interstellar negotiations. Hana Kim worked tirelessly, helping the children process the complex emotions surrounding their newfound diplomatic significance. They were not just survivors anymore, they were potential ambassadors, living bridges between civilizations. The horizon became more than a ship. It transformed into a floating diplomatic center, a place where traditional boundaries of communication and understanding dissolved, unexpected alliances formed. The Craxus Confederation, initially hostile, began requesting research collaborations. The Azure Collective offered technological exchanges. What had started as a simple rescue mission became a complex diplomatic dance. The children watched and learned. They understood more than anyone realized. Their collective intelligence processed every diplomatic nuance, every subtle communication strategy. Elena realized they were creating something unprecedented. Not just a rescue mission, but a new model of interstellar interaction. Compassion was becoming a diplomatic strategy. Yoon Seo discovered the children were developing their own communication network. They could share information, emotions, and experiences in ways that transcended traditional communication methods. This became another diplomatic complexity. The Quantum Council's final report was unprecedented. The human rescue mission was recognized as a significant diplomatic event. The children were granted special status, not as political assets but as potential ambassadors of understanding. One remarkable moment occurred when Zara, the crystal-skinned child, directly communicated with the Craxus representative. Using a combination of biological signals and complex mathematical representations, she conveyed a message of hope and connection that transformed the diplomatic conversation. Elena understood then that they had done more than rescue children. They had opened a new chapter in interstellar relations. Compassion was becoming a form of diplomatic communication. The Horizon continued its journey, carrying its extraordinary passengers. 27 orphans, countless possibilities. A future none of them could have imagined was unfolding. As solar cycles passed, the ship became a symbol, not of military might or technological superiority, but of something far more powerful: the ability to connect, to understand, to care across the vast distances of space. The diplomatic complications were just beginning, and at the center of it all were 27 children who had survived impossible odds, ready to change the universe. 5 years after the initial rescue, a new world emerged from the stars. The sanctuary station hung in neutral space, a testament to human compassion and interstellar hope. Its design reflected the diversity of its inhabitants, a living structure that changed and adapted constantly. Elena Rodriguez stood at the central observation deck, watching the children who were no longer just survivors. They had become something extraordinary, a new kind of community that defied traditional understanding of species and connection. Zara, the crystal-skinned child who had become a symbol of their collective journey, now served as the primary communication specialist. Her abilities had evolved beyond anything scientists could fully explain. She could interface with complex systems, translate between multiple species, and create connections that seemed almost magical. The sanctuary housed not just the original 27 orphans, but now included dozens of other rescued children from various destroyed civilizations. It was more than an orphanage. It was a living research center, a diplomatic hub, and a beacon of hope. Jaewon Park's medical research had revealed something remarkable. The children had developed a unique collective intelligence. They could share experiences, emotions, and knowledge in ways that transcended traditional communication. What had started as a survival mechanism had become a complex neural network of understanding. Sung-Ho Lee had transformed the station's infrastructure. Every system was adaptive, capable of changing to meet the diverse needs of its inhabitants. Walls shifted color based on emotional states. Environmental systems adjusted to individual physiological requirements with instantaneous precision. The most unexpected development was the children's educational system. Traditional learning had been replaced by a holistic approach that combined emotional intelligence, technological understanding, and interspecies communication. They learned not just through information, but through shared experience and collective problem-solving. Diplomatic missions now sought the children's insights. Their ability to understand complex situations, to bridge cultural and biological differences, made them invaluable. What had once been seen as a risky rescue mission was now recognized as a breakthrough in interstellar relations. Hana Kim, who had been instrumental in their psychological recovery, now led a team developing new communication protocols. The children had become experts in understanding emotional and biological languages that humans had never imagined possible. The station became a living ecosystem. Each child contributed uniquely. Some developed technologies that solved complex environmental challenges. Others created art forms that combined multiple sensory experiences. Their collective creativity knew no boundaries. Earth had changed too. The rescue mission had transformed human understanding of space exploration. It was no longer about conquest or resource extraction, but about connection and understanding. Yoon Seo Choi managed the communication networks, watching as the children became ambassadors of a new kind of diplomacy. Their ability to understand and connect transcended traditional political boundaries. One particularly remarkable moment occurred during a galactic conference. Zara demonstrated a communication method that combined mathematical equations, emotional color signatures, and complex sound frequencies. Representatives from multiple civilizations found themselves experiencing a form of understanding that went beyond words. The original crew of the Horizon were now guardians, researchers, and friends. The line between rescuers and rescued had completely dissolved. They had become a family in the truest sense of the word. Earth's government now supported the sanctuary fully. What had once been a controversial rescue mission was now seen as humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement. The children represented hope, a bridge between civilizations, a promise of something greater. Elena sometimes reflected on that first moment of discovery. 27 orphaned children, found on a destroyed planet, had become architects of a new kind of interstellar understanding. The sanctuary station continued to grow. New children arrived, old barriers continued to fall, and at the center of it all was a simple truth: compassion could change the universe. As solar cycles passed, the story of the Horizon's rescue became legendary, not a tale of military might or technological superiority, but a story of hope, of connection, of the extraordinary potential that exists when we choose to care. 27 orphans had become something more than anyone could have imagined. They were the beginning of a new chapter in the story of life among the stars.